discussion, please, Ms. Young, about corporate influence in rulemaking within the federal bureaucracy. What are the mechanisms, the avenues by which corporate actors, concentrated power, special interest groups exert influence on federal rulemaking and the regulatory review process?
Senator, thank you for that question. We have to ensure that when we call for public input, it's the real public. I think, that there are some who are sophisticated enough to hire representatives who understand the system well enough that we might be hearing from them in louder voices and more organized voices than we do from the general public, who are the most impacted, and ensure that we get regulations right. So I think we have to have a regulatory system that regular people can understand and be involved in their government, because I do think it is easy for corporations with a lot of resources to bring those to bear, certainly in the public comment timing of regulations. We need to make sure we're actually hearing from your constituents and not representatives that have the money to bear, to make sure that their facts are the only voices that we're hearing during that public comment period.
Thank you, Ms. Young. And where organized interests who may be on different sides of an issue have the greatest capacity to weigh in an organized way on the rulemaking process, do you view the federal rulemaking process and the public comment aspect of it as one where those organized interests are balanced, or do federal agencies and OMB have an obligation to independently assess the true public interest, regardless of how various organized interests are weighing in via public comment?
I certainly think we need to ensure that our system is hearing from, and we have to assess whether or not, or where it's being generated. I mean, look, they have the right to also petition their government and let the government know their opinions. But if we have a system so complicated that only those with resources can effectively get to their government, so I think it's beholden upon OMB and the agencies to ensure that we are getting to the public where they are, so they know how to petition their government when they're not represented by major financial backing.
Thank you so much. And will you work with my office and this committee, Ms. Young, should you be confirmed, to try to make more responsive and more accessible that process so that ordinary people can weigh in and make their voices heard? Absolutely,
Senator Ossoff.
Thank you so much, Ms. Young. I'd like to talk about a couple of issues of particular concern to my constituents in Georgia. At Fort Gordon in Augusta and at Fort Benning in Columbus, there have been consistent long-term concerns about the health and safety of base housing, and military families who have had to endure unsafe, unsanitary, unhealthy conditions at base housing. And the commanding officers at both facilities, I believe, are making diligent and good faith efforts to address that issue so military families in Georgia can live in safe conditions. Will you commit to working with my office to ensure that federal resources necessary to ensure that housing on post at Fort Benning and Fort Gordon is safe for our military families?
Senator Ossoff, you see me smiling because my partner with me was born at Fort Gordon in Augusta and grew up in Augusta. You actually absolutely have my commitment. Also, this is a good example of when we talk about defense funding, it matters not just the top line, but what's in it. And we have a lot more to do on basic life safety projects with military housing. Our men and women in uniform deserve at least that much.
Well, I know the military families in Augusta and Columbus will be grateful, and I appreciate the Georgia connection in your family. I'd like to ask you as well about a major infrastructure project, which is the Port of Savannah, where a multi-year, very expensive deepening of that port, which is vital to Georgia and indeed national prosperity, is over budget and behind schedule. will you work with my office and with Mayor Van Johnson in Savannah to ensure that federal funds are dispersed appropriately and with all appropriate speed so we can complete that project without any more cost overruns or delays in the schedule?
I've heard a lot about the port over in my years on the Appropriations Committee. I understand the economic engine that it is, the dredging, what it is to the rest of the country, not just Georgia. So you have my commitment to working with you on that long-standing project.
Thank you so much, Ms. Young. I'd like to ask you about the roles of inspectors general at federal agencies, and just offer you the opportunity to reflect on how OMB can instruct or encourage components at other federal agencies to comply with requests for information by inspectors general in the interest of good governance. Would you be willing, to the greatest extent of your capacity, should you be confirmed to this post, to issue such instruction to senior government executives that they must comply within their components with requests for information from inspectors general?
Yes, Senator Ossoff, one, I hope that is happening. Where it's not, you certainly have my commitment to work on the issue writ large, and if there are any issues, serve as someplace that can help resolve those issues between the IGs and the agencies they serve.
Thank you. And final question, please, Mr. Miller, my remaining time. What is your view of whether the specifics of apportionment decisions made by the administration via OMB should be posted publicly?
Senator, thank you for the question. First, just briefly on your prior question, if confirmed in the role of the Deputy Director for Management, I would serve as the Executive Chairman of the Council of Inspectors General for Integrity and Efficiency, and I think it's absolutely imperative that OMB repair the relationship with Inspectors General and make sure that they have the resources and the access necessary to do their jobs.
Thank you.
With regards to the specifics of apportionment, something that I would commit to work on. As I understand it, the OMB has returned the authority associated with that to the career staff and will follow long-standing past practice.
My question is, what is your view, your personal view, on whether apportionment decisions should be posted publicly?
On whether apportionment, Senator, it's not the specifics of apportionment decisions is not an area that I've spent significant past time on, but I would be happy to follow up and talk with you further about what's past practice and how OMB is going to proceed and make sure that the work that we're doing, including spending data and spending decisions, are done in a transparent way.
Okay, I'd be grateful for that for the record. And Ms. Young, did you want to weigh in?
I know from where I sit now, OMB has provided some of the apportionment data, well, all of it that the Appropriations Committee has requested to date. So, the legislative solution to this, I think we're all going to have to work together, but I do believe when a committee of Congress asks for, that apportionment data, OMB should be responsive, and I've seen that in action. During my time on the Appropriations Committee, we were finally able to get apportionments from the Office of Management and Budget in the last 2 months. Okay,
and we can return to the question of whether it should be posted publicly as a matter of course. I appreciate you. Thank you for working through this process and for your answers today. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Ossoff. Well, we're coming to the